What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
And we are live, hopefully. Hopefully it's working. Looks like it might be working. Looks like there's audio, possibly. Do excuse me, I've had to set up the PC once again. So hopefully the volume is acceptable. Please let me know in the chat if you can actually see and or hear me. Either is good, preferably both, but I can go with one or the other. If you can't see me, we'll just call it a podcast. Sound and audio is fine. That's not how I just choked. Let's make sure the other camera is working, the overhead. Hello, overhead viewers. Yep, that appears to be working, and I'm guessing the other one is going to work, so we'll wing it with that. Let's go back to that one. Oh god, I've set up all my buttons again on my Stream Deck and it's all gone a little bit crazy. So, coin drop's working, and that one's working also. We're good to go, I think. David Unders says something wrong with the video, some baldy guy on it. Bless your heart. Ah dear.
Nick Brown says weird colour black hoodie.
Weird colour, yeah, that's true, yes. Super chat come in from Michael T. Thank you very much, Michael T. Sending in $5 Australian, saying, hello mubbers. Actually, I wonder if this is actually going to work. You never know, is the overlay going to work? Oh god, did I click on the right one? I just swallowed something badly and it's killing me already. Yeah, that appears to be working, and it's in the right place as well. Excellent stuff. Thank you for the super chat, Michael T. And also, thank you, Sir Bob. That's his second super chat. There was one a little bit earlier. It says, £10 from Ugly Bob. It says, evening, you filthy animals. He always says the nicest things. O'Reilly says, Mike needs to do a live stream build like Blue Peter Arts and Crafts section, and here's one I built earlier. Yes, one that actually works. That would be excellent. And you'll be pleased to know the AM5 machine, I shouldn't really say this before the stream's ended, but it seems that the AM5 machine is finally working exactly as it is supposed to. The Windows updates are working, everything seems to be working, all the USBs are working. It appears to be completely stable and functional, and actually pretty nippy as well. So I'm moderately pleased, although somewhat hesitant to confirm or deny the rumours that AM5 is actually pretty decent. So Monday, after the grief over the weekend of it not restarting and stuff. Done a fresh install, completely fresh install with yet another brand new M.2 drive, and yes, fingers crossed, it appears to be all working well. The only thing I haven't installed so far, I think, is Microsoft Office, Outlook for emails. That's the only thing missing at the moment. So if on Monday or Tuesday I install Office and then it all goes completely pear-shaped, we will know that Microsoft Office is the culprit, hopefully. But yeah, touch wood, everything seems to be working absolutely perfectly. So now it is almost the perfect setup. I've got all my fans in there, my SWA fans, which are all set up nicely, and you can probably just about see over the top of my head. They're currently doing a black hole effect. So there's a little black hole which goes from each fan and kind of circles around inner and outer and goes all the way around into the front ones and then back around in a big loop, which is what I always wanted to achieve. Yeah, you can't really see the front ones because of the angle, but trust me, it is happening. There is a black hole inside the PC. So yes, I'm very, very pleased that it is working, at least it appears to be. I'm not sure if I disabled the onboard graphics. I do need to double check that. And also the latest BIOS update means that it boots up really quickly. I've currently got my boot time down to about 20 seconds from pressing the power button to it actually coming to the Windows desktop, which is where it should have been from day one really, but now it does appear that it's doing that. The RAM training has been done. I've now set it so that it doesn't do the full RAM train every single time. So it appears to be actually fully functional and working and not crashing and rebooting and shutting down and doing all the things it's meant to do, including Windows updates. So yes, that is an achievement in itself. So the last 4 or 5 weeks that we've been trying to get this bloody thing going and stable, and it is finally working. So yes, very, very happy indeed. Matthew Day says, did it need a blood sacrifice? Yes, it did. There's a tiny little bit of El Fingaro missing. That was my stupidity with the screwdriver, but it was actually at the same time pretty much. And then I cut it again in the garden, sawing some wood this week. So I've been actually out in the garden this week. The sun has actually shone for 2 days. Well, potentially 2, you could argue.
I thought that was last week.
Oh, it might have been last week, correct. Yeah, we've had 2 days of sunshine this month.
This year.
Actually, quick straw poll for those of you that are watching the live stream. Please let me know, in degrees Celsius, what is your current temperature? Ours is some hideous thing about, it doesn't show on there, does it? Because I have things set up. I think we're about 9 degrees Celsius at the moment. So let us know what your scores are in the chat. Who has got the coldest temperatures right now? I'm guessing, 8. We're 1 degree out. So I'm guessing potentially Aletta might be leading the field there, being in Ohio. It's either going to be freezing cold and snowing, or it's going to be like 30 degrees.
I think it's might get down to 1.
One of the two. So let us know what your temperatures are, and see if you're all freezing. We've actually got the fire lit today. We haven't had it on much at all the last week or so because temperatures have been rising slightly during the day. Still been pretty cold. Kath's been wearing multiple hoodies. Not a Mike's unboxing one, I hasten to add. She is letting the side down there.
I'd have one if you gave me one.
Kath has got about 15 hoodies, I would say, arguably. She has got about 15 hoodies. Who needs another hoodie? You do. You guys watching. Make sure you buy yourself some Mike's unboxing hoodie because I've got a box full of them upstairs and I'm trying to get rid of them. So if you're a medium or an extra large and you want the embroidered Mike's unboxing hoodie, such as this one, we do still have some of those left. And potentially, depending where you live in, you might bloody need it at the moment because it is freezing. So Michael T's at 9 degrees Celsius, David Underhill's 11C. O'Reilly's down to 10 over there on the south coast. Nick Barnes has got 11 degrees in Humberside, that's pretty good. Mark Berry says 10 degrees outside. Stuart Clear is at 8 degrees Celsius. Glenn's at 9 as well. Excuse me. Kenny D's at 11. Wow, that's a great temperature. Adam is at 8 degrees in Peak District as well, same as us. Skystalker is 10 degrees Celsius in Vancouver, Canada. Welly Bob is 12 degrees in North Hants. Ugly Bob's at 5 degrees in the northeast of England. Lucky Man's at 12 degrees Celsius. Positively balmy weather there. Mark's 8, Dom's at 8, yeah. Aletta's at 13 degrees Celsius. Rick's at 14, excellent stuff, getting warmer. Patrick LaBelle, rocking with a whopping 20 degrees Celsius on the 22nd of April 2023. It should be warmer by now, god damn it. But as I've always said, and I will keep on saying, 100%, I will put money where my mouth is. May the 6th, the coronation of the king in the United Kingdom, 100% it's going to be a hot day. There won't be a cloud in the sky, and it'll be warm and it'll be dry. 100%. Gary's got 3.8. Mookie's at 11.6. Wow.
Did you see Chris F?
William Bode's 18 to 20. Very nice. And 29.6C on the hot dog stand. Nice. Who did I see, sorry?
Chris F.
Chris F. Chris F. Mike.
Above that.
Oh, Chris F. Thanks for the PSU, Mike. Working well. Excellent. So for those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, there was a giveaway that we did in collaboration with our friends over at Thermalright UK for the Thermalright, what was it? The Tough Power GF3 1000 watt PCI Express Gen 5 power supply, which Chris was the lucky winner. So he's got it and is working well. Excellent stuff. Glad to hear it. And thanks for taking part in the giveaway. It was great because it didn't cost me a penny, which we're always quite happy with. Gerald's got 13 degrees in New Hampshire. Not bad. 13, 14, 15 degrees Celsius is kind of okay. It's bearable. You can live in it. At night. Yeah, with Kath can maybe go down to 1 hoodie. She was wearing 3. When it was really cold here, we had the cold temperature. She was wearing 3 hoodies at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, it looked like I had a massive hunch though.
Yeah.
Because of my...
The build! Oh dear. I'm going to get myself in trouble saying something silly in a minute. Name 89, 10 degrees Celsius in Lancashire. Antonio's with us. Oh, how you doing, Antonio? Nicholas Barlow being different. 77 American freedom degrees in Delaware, USA. What's 77? That's about 15 degrees Celsius, I think, isn't it? I'll never get that right. Nicholas, 26 degrees Celsius in Malaysia. Very nice. 24 to 26 is, yeah, nice. I like that. I like that a lot. O'Reilly says at Kath Churchill, do you remember if you ever sent me a hoodie? If you need to get rid of an embroidered one, you can send one my way. DM me Discord for sizing. Yeah, I think you should have had one because you're on the Patreon level to get one. I'm sure. Yeah, must be.
We must have done one, mustn't we? Maybe not an embroidered one.
Yeah.
We didn't have those at that point.
We'll check into it and we'll sort out. Send me a DM or Kath a DM and with your sizing on, and we'll figure that out. See what's gone wrong there. We might have overlooked one. Patrick LaBelle says it's 3:30 over here, still sunny. Nice. Ugly Bob says that's not the only thing that's happening on the 6th of May. You're very true. Very true. There are other things happening on the 6th of May. Mostly it's a bank holiday in the United Kingdom. So you can...
It's a Saturday.
It's a bank holiday because it's the King's coronation.
No, the Monday after is a bank holiday.
So they're not giving people the day off for the King's coronation?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they are.
On the Monday they are.
When's the coronation? The 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a day off.
I doubt it.
It is.
Pubs would be roaring. Of course they're not going to give people a day off.
I'm gonna. We need to check this. Hey Google. No, I haven't got one of those devices. Someone find out if May the 6th is a national bank holiday in the United Kingdom for the King's coronation. It's bound to be a day off for everybody. No, hang on. What day is it? A Saturday.
Yeah.
What, the 6th?
Yeah. You get the bank holidays carried over if it falls on a bank holiday.
Ah, so yeah, right.
On a Saturday.
Got you. Yeah. So it's a Saturday. So that sucks. Yes, so it'll be a bank holiday on the Monday to recover from the coronation. Wow. Mark Berry says that's why the Romans left the UK, cold, wet and damp. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They had the right idea. Name 89 says royal events always get stunning weather. It's fixed. I agree entirely. There is actually a company in the United Kingdom which will guarantee you good weather on your wedding day in your local area for £10,000, was it? Sorry, £100,000, and they will basically modify the weather for you in your area. How cool is that?
And they've been doing that since 2015, haven't they?
That was from about 20, yeah, it was a long time ago, it was like 10 years ago.
They could probably do more than that now.
Anyway, right, let's, thanks, it is a Saturday. Yeah, I've been educated, bless your hearts. So the Monday before is a holiday. Yeah, because you've got May Day, which is the first Monday of May, which is Kath's birthday. No, actually, can't be your birthday.
No, it's not on my birthday, but the
right.
May Day bank holiday
Yeah.
is always my birthday one.
Yeah.
I used to tell the kids they could have Monday off school because it's my birthday, and they believed me for years.
Right, okay. I think I'm getting...
You're getting too confused.
I am... It's easy to do. It's been a long day.
Yeah, so you get the first, you get the coronation one, and then you get the late spring holiday one.
Got you. Stuart Cleary says, Mike, you have to have a beer on your birthday. I may actually do that. I may just do that. Get some... what was that one? Dave sent me round some stuff. Actually, it might have been from everybody. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Probably was from everybody. Some Hazy Jane. And I remember drinking it before. It was a nice sunny day. Sat in the garden. Hazy Jane. Yeah, amazing. Love it. I think it was that anyway.
I think it might have been Carmen that gave them to you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it was. Yeah, I fixed someone's car. And it was a gift for fixing someone's car. David Underhill's 15th wedding anniversary. Are you still married?
Oh, I've just put happy anniversary.
Hopefully it's a happy anniversary, or maybe you're not. I don't know. David O says, no, worst day of my life.
Sorry.
Unhappy anniversary. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's crack on. Thank you all for joining us on Saturday, the 22nd of April, 2023, in the day of our baby. I'll forget it. Let's move on. Right, today's stream is, if you haven't already looked at the thumbnail or read the description, about a amazing little PC that you can actually build, brand spanking new parts, £650 just under, and get some absolutely cracking 1080p performance, potentially 1440p depending on your games of choice. A cracking deal here. It is mostly obviously for UK, although potentially you may find similar deals in other countries, so if you're watching from overseas, then my apologies, but also potentially you might find yourself a bargain, maybe even cheaper prices, depending how the exchange rates work out and all that usual nonsense. So we're going to start off with what actually kicked the ball rolling for this whole thing, which is the NZXT N5 Z690 motherboard. Now this is a Z690 chipset, as you're probably already aware from the massive writing there and the thumbnail and the title, etc. This board was originally £210 from NZXT, and at that price it's a little bit on the high side considering other potential boards you could pick up with a similar specification, such as the MSI Z690 Tomahawk, for instance, which is a very similar board but slightly better VRMs and all that kind of stuff. But recently here in the UK, and potentially elsewhere, if you check out the NZXT website, they've been trying to clear these out. This is currently retailing in both the black and the white version, or technically they're both black, but one of them's got matte black heat shields or covers. This one's got white. $99.99, including postage, which is freaking amazing. Considering how expensive motherboards in the UK are at the moment, this is ridiculous. So Z690 chipset, so you've got the completely unlocked experience from Intel's flagship chipset, as it was at the time for 12th gen. This will also work with 13th gen processors. I have tried it with my 13500 and it does actually work. It was a little bit quirky. For some reason the HDMI didn't work to begin with, but after I installed Windows it was absolutely fine. So in terms of what you can use on it, you can basically use the entire 12th and 13th gen lineup of processors, B0 stepping, C0 stepping, it doesn't matter, they all work on there with arguably no problems at all. I did have to put a graphics card in to get to the BIOS. I've got to look into that further. I'm not too sure why it's doing that. I'm still potentially thinking that my 13500 might actually be a slightly screwy processor. I don't know for sure. Officially, this board doesn't support the 13500, the 13400 and the 13100. It isn't listed on their website, but actually when I looked at this on UK Hot Deals, I did mention in the comments that it doesn't appear to have support for it. Luckily, someone who actually bought one already and was using a 13500 on it already confirmed that it was working, it was fine. So I thought, right, I'll stick my money where my mouth is, let's grab one and see what it's all about. And actually, I'm really glad I did. For £99, it's freaking amazing. If you're thinking of building a PC at the moment, either a second PC for streaming or for some other purpose, maybe downloading movies or, I don't know, a media center or something, or just another PC because you like building PCs. I'm imagining there's going to be at least one or two of you here in the chat that has got more than one PC. It's not unusual these days, especially for enthusiasts. So £100 for a motherboard. At the moment in the UK, you're looking at either something as good as this, or you're looking at stuff which is a lot worse, such as like A520s, B450s, A620s if you're lucky. There's a lot of boards out there at the moment which are around about the sort of £80 to £100 mark that realistically shouldn't be. They shouldn't be anywhere near that price. So this is coming at a really good time and potentially is the saviour of the budget builder at the moment. It really is. You don't always want to put an expensive motherboard in a budget build, but if it's potentially one you're keeping for yourself, you've got to think ahead. Potentially K-series chips are going to be available at lower prices at some point. So fully unlocked, great board, lots of cool features, ridiculous amount of M.2 drives. This is fantastic. Yes, Gav?
Stephanus, there's none left at that price on Amazon. Did you get it Amazon?
If it's not on Amazon, try going to NZXT's website in the UK. They do have them there, at least they did before I started filming. If not, scan.co.uk, which is where I believe I got this one from, I think. Yes, I think this was from scan.co.uk, and that was for free shipping as well. So wherever you want to get it, Amazon might be out of stock.
They're 200 and odd.
Yeah, if it's gone back out to 200 on Amazon, then that's probably why they're out of stock, so it's gone back to the previous price. But scan.co.uk or NZXT directly, you can pick them up there, hopefully. Let us know in the chat. If anybody wants to go over to the website, I think I did list it in the video description, possibly. No.
Antonio.
Yes. Antonio, what am I looking for?
This is interesting build.
Antonio, this is an interesting build, but in order to get a bit more performance, use stock cooler with CPU and get 2x16 CL200 RAM instead of 2x8. Other than that, the build is decent. Thank you, Antonio. I agree. It's for the money, you really can't go wrong.
It's on scan.
There's going to be some things that you can obviously trade out, but this is going to be the kind of like the platform or the kind of the cornerstone or whatever you want to call it. This is basically the base of the platform. What you choose to do with it is entirely up to you, but for £100 for a Z690 motherboard with Wi-Fi 6E, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, 4 M.2 ports, it's just madness. It really is madness. If they're clearing, I was tempted to buy a couple because this is going to be handy. But we're going to go through, I'll do a quick unboxing so you can see what is in there, and then we'll go through and take a look at the PC part picker list. For those of you that don't want to stick around for that, obviously PC part picker list is in the video description. Click on it, you can see what it's all about. Basically, I've added in there an additional ARGB cooler, which I think is prudent. It doesn't necessarily need one. I have run this with the stock cooler on the 13500 and it's absolutely fine. There's no issues with it whatsoever. But I think for a lot of people, stock cooler is one of those things that it's kind of nice to swap out. So I've added that into the PC part picker listing. 20 quid for a Thermalright SE214XT SE, or whatever it is, the ARGB one. It's about 18 quid at the moment here in the UK, which is, yeah, again, phenomenal value, and we'll keep this sucker very, very cool. So let's take a look. Go on.
Scan's got it and NZXT have got it.
So Scan and NZXT have both got them at the moment. So it's ridiculous. It is absolutely insane. Now this doesn't support 13th gen directly out of the box, or at least it didn't for me. Depending obviously on the stock situation, who you're getting it from, how fresh the stock is, potentially your mileage may differ. Now something for me which I found was, because this is, although it's branded NZXT, it's actually made, and kind of the OEM for it is ASRock. So effectively it is a ASRock Z690 Phantom Gaming 4, I believe, just with a few minor tweaks, although some of the tweaks are more than others, if that makes sense. So NZXT have put quite a lot of effort actually into making this a pretty decent board. Let's go to the, I've got to remember how my things were now. So to go to the overhead, hopefully that is visible. Awesome stuff, that works. So opening up the packaging, you see you've got the motherboard in there, nicely packed. They even put some styrofoam in there to press against here to keep things in place during transit. I do like NZXT's packaging actually, they do a really good job of that. So that is in its own individual cardboard liner. So we'll put that to one side for now. And looking inside, okay, more cardboard. It's nice and easy to recycle should you need to. And you've got a user guide, big old user guide. This thing potentially doubles up as a continental quilt or some form of blanket. So telling you all about it, blah, 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 usual stuff, pinouts, etc. I won't labour that too much because most of you probably will never use that in a million years. There's a bunch of bags for M.2 screws, 4 of them. There's also a separate bag as well with a M.2 riser, got a standoff. I'm not sure if you can see that, but you probably get the idea. You actually get 4 SATA cables, which is quite rare these days. So there is 4 SATA ports on there. So you get 4 SATA cables. There are 2 right angle connected ones and 2 straight angle connectors. And because this has Wi-Fi built in, you also get a pair of Wi-Fi antennas, or antennae, whatever. I had this monologue with myself earlier, whether it's antennae or antennas. I don't care. It's one of them. So let's take a look at the board in a bit more detail. This is a cracking board, it really is. And for the money, again, I'm not actually an affiliate or anything of Scam or NZXT for that matter, but I just feel that this is such a cracking bargain that for a lot of people, especially you guys that watch Mike's unboxing content on a regular basis, I think you're the kind of people that are going to benefit most out of this because it just is, it's just phenomenal value for money. Hello, Poppy.
You're going to go home?
Let's pack this away. Sorry, headphone users. Let's get rid of this, make some room on the desk. And for those of you who are just joining, good evening, welcome. If you've not been here before, don't expect too much. Let's see if we can get a bit more of a zoom on that. Reaching up. It's probably going to be a bit dark actually, because it is quite a dark board. Look at that, that's almost perfect. Let me turn the lighting on a moment. Get a bit more light on the subject. Hopefully that's a bit better. Yeah, there you go, that's pretty visible. So quick tour of the board. At the top you've got your EPS connectors. There's an 8-pin and a 4-pin. You've got this really nice heatsink, which is actually pretty chunky as well. There's a 9-phase VRM on here using Vishay components. You've got 50 amp stages. So it's not brilliant in terms of what you can get on Z690s. Normally you get kind of 10, 12, 13, even 14 stages of VRM. But again, it's £100. It's not £200, which is what it would have been initially, which makes a massive difference in my opinion. Bang in the middle, you've got the LJ1700 socket, CPU connector just there for CPU fans. Along the top, there is a AIO header just there, and also there is a chassis fan. Is that a chassis fan? Actually, I've got to think about this now. AIO and yeah, sorry, top one is AIO, next one down is system fan. You've got diagnostic LEDs up in this top corner. So if it's not booting up, you can find out exactly why. And weirdly, these 2 connectors here, if you've not seen them before, hi Poppy, these are NZXT's proprietary RGB connectors, or addressable RGB connectors. So because obviously it's an NZXT motherboard, you can plug in NZXT fans with that compatible header straight into there to control the RGB via the CAM software, which you'll need to control fans, etc. on this board.
Drip says 100 quid you said used, right?
No, brand new. These are brand new boards. Whoever was asking that.
And is that a full size ATX?
It is full-size ATX. It's not eATX, it's just regular ATX. RAM-wise, so you've got 4 slots. That's going to take up to 128 gigabytes of RAM, which is going to be fine. Realistically, probably DDR4 3200 is going to be your best bet, bang for buck-wise, but it will overclock up to 5000 if you want to. Of course, with Intel processors, you don't have that kind of infinity fabric thing going on. So if you want to, you can use faster RAM. Ideally, you want to be running kind of 1-to-1. So kind of 4000 megahertz is great. Whatever you want to do, really. But yeah, that is a pretty good set of sticks there. Set of slots there, rather. 24-pin power connector. USB 3 front panel connector. This one's angled outwards. There's also another one there, angled inwards. So if you don't like to have your USB 3 headers kind of jumping out at you, or you want to bunch them up with your ATX 24-pin, you can bundle those together to hide them. But there's also another one there. So potentially you can have 4 front panel USB connectors. You've also got a Type-C header as well. So that is going to be USB 3.2 Gen 2, 10 gigabit per second. Those ones are going to be USB 3.2 Gen 1, 5 gigabit per second. Another fan header there. Got your SATA ports there in the corner, down at the bottom, fan headers, etc. Usual kind of stuff. There's only one addressable RGB connector down here at the bottom. So just one of those, I guess, because you've also got the NZXT ones at the other end. You may not need that, but I would strongly suggest if you're running a lot of RGB stuff, just connect a hub up to, that one. That'll be a good shout. Only one USB 2.0 header, which is a little bit of a downside as well. So if you've got a load of stuff you want to connect on USB 2.0s, you might want a small hub for that as well. You can pick those up for about £5–10. Same for the RGB hubs, £5–10 if you need to do it. But I think where this actually really does shine is the M.2 slots, because there's 4 of them. Well, technically there's 5. So you've got one here at the top, so that's going to be PCI Express Gen 4 x 4. You've got your graphics card slot, which is PCI Express Gen 5 x 16. Underneath that, you've got another M.2, so that's going to be PCI Express Gen 4 x 4. Then you've got your M.2E type connector for your Wi-Fi. So that's Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2. Underneath that, you've got a PCI Express Gen 4 x 1. Underneath that, PCI Express Gen 4 x 4. Then another 4x1. And at the bottom, you've got PCI Express Gen 3 x 1. Now it says in the manual that it's a x4, but also online it says it's a x16. But it's not. It's only wired for x1, the same as that slot and that slot. Whereas that one's wired for x4, because you can see the pins all the way through to the end. So a little bit of confusion on what these actually do support, but realistically, graphics card in that one, capture cards in that one, additional M.2 slots, or 10 gigabit per second LAN cards in either of those 3, should you wish to. That one there, at the bottom, you could also put in something like a Elgato Camlink Pro, that sort of thing if you wanted to. M.2s again, so that one at the top is NVMe only. This one is NVMe only. Then you've got this one here, which is the 3rd slot, so that's PCI Express Gen 4 x 4 also. That is going to be NVMe, and also it's going to be SATA-based M.2 drives. And you're probably thinking, well, Mike, where's the 4th one? Well, the 4th one is in a bloody stupid place. On the back of the motherboard, here. Thank you for the super chat, Dave. Dave Aikens come in with a £2 super chat there, saying, wish they had that, wish they hid that Wi-Fi card. Only downside, in my opinion. Yeah, actually, oh, that's Poppy. If you look on the website, you can see they've actually blanked it out. They've put some black tape over it. I was kind of expecting to see the black tape when I actually bought this. but it wasn't there, so
Oh, sorry.
kind of is
My
what it
finger's
is.
still doing it.
No worries. So there we go, M.2 slot on the back there, and have I got an M.2 drive? Yes, I have. So just so you can see how it goes in, I'm going to quickly stick one in, said the vicar. And this is M.2 PCI Express Gen 3 ×4 or SATA based M.2 drives. So there's
Hyrax says, is 3200 MHz fast enough for gaming? My board doesn't go above XMP profile.
Yep, 3200 megahertz or 32 mega transfers or whatever you want to call it is, yeah, that's absolutely fine for gaming. So let's take this out, get your drive, put it in. The only thing with this is potentially if you put a drive on the back here which has some kind of heat shield on it, then you might have some clearance issues because of obviously motherboard being against the back wall of something. But yeah, you get the general idea. So 4 M.2 slots, one of them stretched around the back there. For some people that's going to be great for maybe putting a larger M.2 drive in for like bulk storage or stuff that you don't have to have much speed for. So maybe kind of movies, that kind of stuff. That would be absolutely great because it's not going to get particularly hot there. And also, depending on your case and the layout, you could always put some heat pads on there so it transfers the heat actually to the back wall of your case. You'd have to probably measure it, get some sort of feeler gauge in there to see what the actual depth is between that and your case. But a couple of thermal pads on there, and that would make a lot of difference in my opinion. And when I actually get to doing the building this, I will probably do that just to do it. It's going to be a pain as well if you ever need to take the drive out, obviously, because it is kind of hidden, but I'd rather have the ability to have another drive in there than not. Other than that, rest of the board is yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. I think it's a cracking design. And let's zoom out a little bit. So yeah, you can see it's a really nice design. There's nothing really they've overlooked. Maybe the cables coming out of the drive there. Again, if you want to, you can grab yourself a little bit of electrical tape. Actually, let's try that now. So you can get some black tape and you could basically put a piece of black tape over most of that and I think it would look absolutely fine. Let's see that. Obviously it's going to be better if you can to remove the drive or remove the M.2 to do this, but just so you can see, I'm going to wing it slightly and there. It's basically hidden. That looks much better to me. At first glance you wouldn't know it was there. So yeah, a simple bit of electrical tape. O'Reilly. Question Mike, what about M.2 NVMe SSD extension cable? Oh, that's true, yeah. Yeah, you could get an extension riser cable to plug in. So then you could run the M.2 round the back. That's a very good shout, O'Reilly. Well done. Thank you very much. And that's going to be relatively inexpensive. So yeah, overall, I think it is it's an awesome board. There's basically no real failings. The only thing I am not entirely keen on is the I/O. So on the back you've got USB 3.2 Gen 1, two of those, only a single HDMI, which I guess for the kind of person that's going to be buying this, they're most likely going to be using a separate graphics card, so it's not the end of the world. Two SMA connectors for your antennas, which is actually in a good place because if you're installing this obviously in a case, it's going to be kind of upright. So if you have it in an upright position, your antennas are going to be there pointing upwards, so you're not really going to interfere much with those USBs. Whereas if those SMAs were down the bottom, which they tend to be on a lot of other boards, the antenna's got to be kind of angled outwards so they don't interfere. So I kind of like that. That's a pretty good shout. You've also got another two USB 2.0s, USB BIOS flashback as well. So you've got a USB flashback port on there, which is that one there, which is next to the USB 3.2 Gen 2, so 10 gigabit per second, Type A and Type C, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2, USB 3.2 Gen 1, those there, 5 gigabit per second, and then you've got the Realtek RTL 8125BG, I think it is. That's your 2.5 gigabit LAN, and then you've got some crappy outputs for your audio, which is not ideal, but it's a ALC 897 chipset, so it's not brilliant, but it's passable. And I think these days, a lot of people, if you're using high-end audio equipment, you're realistically probably going to be using some sort of DAC or headphones on a USB. So yeah, I don't think the audio solution is ideal. It's certainly passable. And yeah, overall, I think it's just it's a cracking board for $99.99. It is just ridiculous. How they manage, well, they're not making any money on it. They're just clearing stock. So I think they're going to sell out very quickly. The other thing is the board, because it is a slightly cheaper board, it's a little bit on the flimsy side. I noticed there's a bit of flex in it. It's not like a 6-layer PCB or anything. It's just your generic bog standard motherboard. But having that the Z690 chipset on there does open up a lot of possibilities for overclocking. If you can get hold of a slightly older chip, like a 12th gen K series, you can overclock the snot out of it if you want to. So yeah, I'm really impressed. I'm starting to come around to the idea of Intel actually being a very competitive force in especially the budget market at the moment. AMD is still in the point where budget-wise, there's kind of nothing. If you go for a really, really crap board like an A620, A520s, you're still looking at £100 or more when you can get something of this kind of caliber with this much actual expansion potential. It's just mad. Having 4 M.2 drives for a lot of people is like a holy grail, because M.2 drives are getting cheaper, so it's getting more and more likely that you're going to be able to pick them up. So say for instance, if you're a video editing is going to be great because you can buy like a cheap, like 240 gig like this. Oh, actually that's a 1 terabyte, so yeah, don't buy a cheap 1 terabyte. Well, actually, yeah, buy a cheap 1 terabyte, stick that on one slot, get your faster 4x drive on the top slot, and have another smaller drive as like a scratch disk for video editing, and your timeline will just zoom along. So on a lot of boards, especially with AM5 at the moment, even with my board, if I start adding more M.2 drives, because of the bifurcation of the chipset, because it doesn't have that many lanes, then you are going to start losing speed. Whereas with these, basically you just populate the lot and the chipset takes care of it, which is the beauty of having the more advanced chipset on the market, or at least in this particular price point. So yeah, it's very cool indeed. I like it a lot. I've already done the unboxing video on it. There will be another video basically kind of simplifying what I've said in tonight's stream. So like a build guide, because you guys seem to like that kind of thing. So we're doing that. I've also done the BIOS flashback as well. I've done a video on that so you can see how that all works. It's very simple, very easy to do. It's slightly different from other manufacturers because this is NZXT, it is their baby. And yeah, overall, I think it's just a very, very nice board. And I know I've said it 100 times already, and I'm going to say it again, it's £100. What else can you get even remotely close to £100 with this level of functionality and expandability? You can't. Blake, does the M.2 drive share lanes with PCIe lanes like my Unify X does? No, that is the benefit of the Z690 chipset. Because it's the high-end chipset, or the high-end version of the chipset, it doesn't do all that sharing, much like the X570 for AM4. So you can go ahead with that and pretty much just install stuff willy-nilly, and it doesn't make any difference. Whereas with the B550, B450, that is where you start losing out, and as soon as you start installing things, the limitation of the chipset is basically what hampers your system eventually. Which is why those... Sorry, I'll get it done. Get down, ship. So that is where the benefit of spending a little bit more money generally and getting a better chipset works out better, because when the time comes and you want to add more components or more peripherals, more storage, capture cards, all that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry so much. That was one of the things that, even though my Asus Tough Gaming, the X570, even though it didn't have some of the features that I really wanted on it, such as BIOS flashback, built-in Wi-Fi and stuff like that, because it had the X570 chipset in it, it meant I could start installing other things, and if I bought like a Ryzen 9 3900X, I could use all the bandwidth available to it, populate it with a ton of drives, capture cards and that kind of stuff, and I didn't have to worry about bifurcation too much. So yeah, it's very, very good indeed. And also, it's £100. Come on. Super chat from Stuart Cleary, €10, saying great info, Mike. Thank you. No worries. Pac-Man says, Mike, you muppet, you made me log in just to say hi, Mike and Mrs. Lol, what I miss? Nothing really. just me waxing lyrical about a motherboard for the last half an hour or more. Some things never change. Thank you for this super chat, Stuart. Sorry, Babs, can you put that back up?
Don't want that light on, do we?
I better put that knife away before I stab myself or do something wrong. So let's see what you guys in the chat are saying. Mook MC says, no matter what, this board seems like an excellent deal at £99. I agree wholeheartedly. I am. Yeah, that's right, David. Yeah, only cost me £90 now.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you. Matthew Day says, half tempted to oust my almost complete build for this. Even without E-cores, more expensive CPU, it would still probably be more efficient. Yeah, that is the thing. If you put in there like a 13500, you're going to have a very, very good time. A 13500 is a fantastic chip. I think it's very underrated. So you've got 20 cores in there. So you've got, got to try to think now, 8 efficiency cores and 6 performance cores with hyperthreading, giving you a total of 20. And the 13500 is absolutely stunning chip. It really is. It's now down to about 229, and it gives you an incredible amount of performance, but also you get the benefits of it being very, very efficient as well. And when you're just on the desktop, just poodling around, maybe watching a bit of YouTube or catching up on emails, etc., it sips power because those efficiency cores, the performance cores basically go to sleep and they're in the background. So it's almost like running one of those little net top PCs, because effectively that's kind of what the efficiency cores are. So you save an absolute ton in electricity and wattage, and depending on what graphics card you've got on there, you could potentially have sort of a 20 watt system running just when idling, which is yeah, is brilliant.
Can I show them too? It's lucky.
Yeah, go on then. Apparently the cats want to be seen.
Oops.
Oops. Calf's breaking things.
Oh, maybe.
There we go.
Do you want to be in it as well now, Poppy?
Flames in focus. Where's my Mac? Oh, there it is.
Right,
I keep on thinking I'm right-handed today for some reason. Why would that be? I suppose because, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's a fantastic platform. Z690. The only thing which held me back from getting a Z690 previously was the fact that it was just really expensive, and I'm a cheapskate. So to have a motherboard for arguably £10 more than kind of the next nearest competition, but maybe like an H series board or a B660, this is fantastic value for money. It really is. Riley says, for the cats, the stars of the stream. Great. I'll go and play games for a while, and you lot can just watch the cats all day. I might do that one day. I might actually set up a members only stream with it just the Insta whatever. What's that bloody camera I got that does the thing? The OBSBot 4K with the tracking on, and I'll just leave it on where the cats are, and you guys can watch the cats all day as part of your membership perk. Oh, I can imagine not many people wanting that.
Happy birthday to Pac-Man.
Happy birthday, Pac-Man. Welly Bob says, as tempting as the motherboard is, I'm still going to wait for the next AM5 or next Intel. Waiting is always a good thing to do, because there's always going to be something better coming out. Well, unless you're looking at NVIDIA graphics cards, I guess. Hirak is coming with a question there. Hi Mike, question. How long do you think the last gen AMD chips like the Ryzen 5 5600 will be relevant until it becomes unusable? Do you think it's still wise to build them in 2023? Yes, definitely. I still feel that the AM4 platform has got a lot of legs. It really does. I'm in a slightly privileged position where, because of obviously being on a YouTube channel, there's people all around the world that watch the content, and you can certainly see there's spikes in when certain content is viewed and is active. So obviously when new stuff comes out, you get the kind of the European, US, Australia and stuff like that, and they gobble up the content. And if I did like a AM5 how to flash your motherboard, that would do pretty well at the moment, because it's on topic, it's on trend, and it's new in the market. Whereas I'm finding at the moment the AM4 videos for motherboards, BIOS tours, all that kind of stuff, BIOS updates, I've seen it shift now, so it's coming slightly away from the like UK, Europe, etc., and is now being like India, Asia, places like that. The places where there's less disposable income, those tend to be the places where, as the platforms mature, the viewership switches to that area. So yeah, the AM4 platform, I'm still getting people asking me questions about FX stuff and AM3 Plus. So it's still going to have some longevity. The only thing which will kill AM4 dead is going to be any changes in Windows. In which case, if it means that people have to stick on a different version of Windows, that is generally what kills a platform. But we'll see, there's still people using like 3rd and 4th gen Intel Core stuff on Windows 10, and they still sell. Not brilliantly, but a 3570K on a nice little platform, like a, was it a Z690, I think it is still a very viable proposition. With a half decent graphics card on there, it can still make a pretty decent gaming platform. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't think that AM4 is going to be dead any time soon, unless they artificially make it dead. So if they stop CPU distribution, motherboard distribution, if you can't get it, you're going to have to jump ship or stay with what you got. And I don't think NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, etc., they're not going to want people to not buy anything at all. So if they get to a point where they reduce stock to make people buy 12th, 13th gen or AM5 platform, DDR5, etc., and then the sales just die, they'll bring back the old stuff. Much like they did with things like, what was a typical example? The 1600AF, the Ryzen 5 1600, which was basically the 2600 rebadged as a 1600AF, but slightly underclocked. And that was because there was a need in the market. There were distributors, OEMs, etc., who were still building with systems with that spec. They ran out of processors, so they basically gave them a better processor and called it something else. So the market is going to dictate what is relevant. Ultimately, it's come down to your games as well. If you buy a game and you can't play it because it doesn't have enough cores or doesn't have a certain feature, then that is going to be a factor. But for just general desktop use in most games, things like Counter-Strike, CSGO, is a 15-year-old game now, and you can still run it on the original platforms that it came out on. So that is going to be the factors, I think. Yes, Kath?
William Bodie, sorry. God,
William Bodie.
my hand up so long.
William. Question, to the MSI Z690 Pro Wi-Fi, I did order i7 11700 and Zotac Gaming GeForce RTX 3060 Twin Edge 12 gig. Is this a good combo? Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Can't go wrong with that. The RTX 3060, decent card. The fact that you've got the the non-TI version, but you've got the one with more RAM, will probably be the beneficial thing in the long run, because games are starting to be very poorly optimized and using tons of texture packs. So actually having the extra VRAM on there will give that card longer legs. So yeah, done well. Dutch Jan says my XP PC is a i5 3570K. See, still got life in it if you're still using it. Rick H, I have a i7 3770 on an old MSI B75 board. So yeah, it kind of, that's what it is. Longevity is, as long as your components physically work, there's no reason why you can't carry on using them. It may not be vogue, or it may not be kind of hip to be using older stuff, but if it serves a purpose and it still works, then use it. Pac-Man question, Mike. The way you see it, do you think Windows will ever cave in and think about the people that are broke? Because 11, I know, 4 people who can't afford upgrades but want to run 11. Oh, right, yeah, I see what you mean. Well, you can circumvent the security stuff in Windows 11 to install it on an older platform. We've actually done a video on it before. There's various methods of getting around the TPM and the secure boot thing. So I can't see them reversing the whole thing, because they are kind of doubling down on the security side of things in Windows 11. Almost every update now, there's a new thing. You've got your core isolation, your virtual machines, non-trusted device drivers. Actually, this has been a problem this week. There's been 2 instances where I've tried to play Fortnite and the Battle Eye launcher basically won't load, because Windows is preventing it from loading because it hasn't got a signed driver in it. So it's a good thing, because potentially there could be a bad version of Battle Eye out there, although it seems that I think there has been a problem with Windows Update and a kind of a mismatch between the drivers, but it's kind of getting that way. We're on that really weird kind of seesaw. So it's kind of like you've got functionality on one side and usability on the other, and security. So it's kind of like, do you want something to be very easy to use but insecure, or do you want something to be less easy to use but more secure? Depending where you are, who you are, and what you use your PC for, your needs are going to differ greatly. So if you're just someone who just got a PC, plays games, you don't have any user accounts or Facebook or banking, all that kind of stuff, you don't really care about your PC, then usability is going to be key for you. But if you're someone who games on your PC but you also run your business, or you've got sensitive information on there, tax returns, personal emails, account credentials, all that kind of stuff, which we do have on our PCs from time to time, then you're going to want a more secure operating system to protect that, but you're then going to jump through a couple of hoops to get stuff working, like logging in and all those kind of security things. So it's, yeah, there isn't really a one size fits all. It depends what your need is and how much you value one thing over another. If you don't want the security, then use Windows 10. If you do want the security and longevity, then Windows 11 is probably what you're going to aim for, and you're going to have to bite the bullet at some point. Is Pac-Man Lucky Man?
Yeah.
No, not Lucky Man. Later. Pac-Man, got you. Question. Mike, when you're off and free, can you help me fix my game so I can play it again? It's no rush, just whenever. Also, say Mrs. needs a raise. Oh, God.
I don't do money.
No, Kath don't do money. Michael T says Windows 12 will be the next upgrade after Windows 11. Windows 10, sorry. I actually quite like Windows 11. It's got its own little quirks about it, but I kind of like the interface now. I've gotten very used to it. Right, so that is the questions. Let's take a look at the PC part picker list. So I'm going to go through the PC part picker list now so you can see what I've actually paired this motherboard with in terms to get a decent 1080p, 1440p gaming experience for basically not a lot of money. And also thank you very much Colin Hilton for your PayPal donation. Very much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much. Where was I? Sorry, my brain's gone off topic. There's a surprise. Right, this is this going to work? Yes, it should do. Right, let's go over to the desktop, and hopefully you can still hear me. Yes, it appears the stream mic is still working. Excellent stuff. So for those of you who want to follow along or open up on another screen, you can go to the video description, or you can copy and paste whatever. No, do it from the video description, is easier.
Do a ka-ching for Colin.
Let's do a ka-ching for Colin. We can do that. There you go.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you, Colin. Bless your heart. Right, so here is the build. So Intel 12400. It's April 2023. I put that in there now for references. I should go back actually to some of my old builds just to see where we're at. You can actually get an idea of where things were, because back in 2020 there was a Ryzen 3100 with a 1060 KO for 700 quid. So we've actually improved on that considerably. We've gone from 4 cores up to 6, and graphically we've progressed quite a bit.
Sorry, Amiga Man. Can you or anyone else make a good guide how to make a good computer for video editing, not gaming?
Yes,
I think we did do one, didn't we?
I have done one. I will do one again now. Basically, if a PC is good for gaming, there's a strong chance it's going to be good for video editing, because the two are kind of intrinsically linked, but there are some things you probably want to do. In fact, this PC would be great for video editing if you swapped out the graphics card and put in an NVIDIA one instead.
And Discord?
Yeah, or jump over to our Discord and I can give you some more personalised advice if need be. So anyway, processor-wise, so we have got our Intel Core i5 12400 6-core processor, currently available from Amazon in the UK, £158.99. Not a bad price for what it is, really. I would like to see this come under 150 by now, but it still is a cracking processor. Very quick, very nimble, and actually relatively power efficient as well. Now, it does come with its own stock cooler, but I think, like I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of people probably want to do some custom cooling of some sort. The best bang per buck at the moment, by a pretty good margin, is the ID Cooling SE214XT. As you can see here, very nice looking cooler. We've reviewed this before, it's done very well. Comes with the latest mountings as well. There is a Thermalright BA12, which you might also want to consider. The Burst Assassin, which is about £2 cheaper for non-RGB, if RGB isn't your thing. So that is the cooler, take it or leave it. Obviously, if you take £20 off of that, it takes you to under 650, just a shade. Motherboard, obviously we've seen this already, currently still available from Scam with free shipping and handling at $99.98 or $99.99 directly from the NZXT website itself. You can see some pictures of the board there. You see what I mean? They've blanked out the Wi-Fi card there with a little bit of black foam. That's great, I love that. Well, I've done it with black tape now.
Evans04 says, I got a Ryzen 5600G for 125 quid on Amazon.
That's a pretty good price. 5600G. I could do one of those actually from a little build I've got. Might have to get one. So RAM wise, this is going to be kind of whatever you go for. I've actually noticed that here in the UK there is some Viper, or is it Patriot? Not sure. There is some at the moment for £35 for basically the same specs, but Corsair Vengeance LPX you can get pretty much anywhere you like. So I figured I'd be better off putting that in, but there are cheaper alternatives at the moment. NVMe drive, I've gone with the Kingston NV2 1TB. You can go with this around about £40 to £45 depending where you're shopping. Currently CCL seems to be the cheapest. Then you've got Box if you've got an Amazon account, amazon.co.uk at £45. eBuyer as well. Similar sort of price, depending who you want to go with. You've got scan again, so if you're thinking about getting the motherboard and throwing in the drive as well, you probably get that shipping and handling taken off of there because it'll be part of the motherboard price. So yeah, combining deals is always worth doing. When it comes to the graphics card, this is the one which at the moment is just absolutely a banging value. So you're looking at about £205 from Newegg, and I've seen it other places as well. It's been on box, I think, .co.uk, a couple of others. rx6600, 8GB card, triple fan cooler. There's nothing to really say about this that is bad. It's a single 8-pin connector, so it's not going to need a particularly high amount of juice to power it. It's by far the best bang per buck at the moment. So rx6600 8GB is pretty much going to be the cream of the crop. You can spend a little bit more or a little bit less on something else, but I think at the moment this is probably the way to go. Alternatively, throw in a little bit of a spanner in the works. If you went with, where are you, video card? Let's go with the, oh, tell you what, if I turn my keyboard on, that would be useful. A750. If you wanted to go with, let's go with the Challenger. So the ASRock Challenger. This is the ARC A750, 8 gigs again still. Slightly newer, potentially going to be better as it ages, hopefully. £246, so you're not spending a great deal more, but an extra £40. Definitely a much more powerful card. You do have the quirks of the drivers, but what you will have is, because this is going to be on a Z690 chipset, you're going to have that synergy between the Intel ARC GPU and the Intel 12th or 13th gen CPU. So there is a little bit of extra performance to be had there if you're going all Intel. So again, something to consider. It is going to take the price up a little bit, but potentially taking off the cooler, it's only going to cost you about an extra £20, and that'll be a significant upgrade in performance over the RX6600. Case-wise, I've just gone for pretty much what is the cheapest ATX case at the moment. This one looks half decent, Montech X3 Mesh. A lot of people have been raving about this. You can get it in black or white. The white one seems to be slightly cheaper at the moment. You get a bunch of fans included as standard with it. Pretty much run-of-the-mill, single USB 3.0 on the top. The two USB 2.0s you're not probably going to be able to connect up without an adapter for one of the USB 3.0 headers on the motherboard. But yeah, overall, it's a half tidy case. Cheapest chips. Again, get whatever case you like, whatever suits your particular needs. Power supply wise, I've gone with a gold. You could go with something much cheaper. This is Corsair TX550M, semi-modular, so nice and easy to use for cabling, etc. Looking like 50 quid, £55. Yeah, pretty good stuff. You can swap, actually, if you swapped out the power supply for something around like £40 and took away the CPU cooler, which you could add at a later date, you could get £650 with the Intel ARC graphics card, which I feel would probably be the better option. Certainly has a little bit more longevity, being that it is a generation in front of the RX6600. So I think that is pretty much it on there. So let's go back to the main camera. Is that working? That is working. I will minimize that now so I can see what is going on, see what you guys have been saying in the chat. Dutch Jan. Question, is the RX6600 an upgrade from a RX6500 XT? Sorry, 5700 XT. I think the 5700 XT has a bit more power to it. It's kind of swings and roundabouts. The 5700 is going to use a lot more power against the RX6600 is going to use considerably less power, like almost half in some instances. So it's more of a question, they are quite similar, but they do it in a different way. The RX 5700 XT is kind of like brute forcing its way to performance, whereas the RX 6600 is doing it in a more refined way, so it's more efficient, but kind of similar performance, I would think. Not really being a great deal in it. Blake's saying, question, aren't Intel Arcs supposed to have something that favors them for video editing? Yes, if you go with the Intel Arcs, they do have AV1 encoding, which at present still isn't included in Adobe Premiere. And I'm not sure if it's in DaVinci Resolve yet. So depending on the software you're using, you may or may not see advantages in that. You're probably better off in terms of if you're relying on Intel enhancements for video editing, you're probably better off going for an Intel processor with a built-in iGPU and turning on quick sync support, which will make video editing much, much quicker or much smoother. William Bodie says the M.2 is very cheap. Question, do they have M.2 Lexar Professional NM710 SSD 1TB? I'm not sure. That's if it's an M.2 SSD. Is it an SSD or is it an NVMe? Because a 1TB SSD based M.2 drive is probably going to be still limited to what, 550 megabytes per second transfer. I don't know. Ordinary Dude says using the ARC card with an Intel CPU with iGPU for video editing, you get hyper encoding too. I've still yet to try that. I still haven't put my Intel GPU in my main video editing rig. I do need to do that at some point. Hirax says, I found the AMD R5 3600 cheaper than 5600G and I heard it's a faster chip. It's kind of swings and roundabouts. The 5600G is limited to PCI Express Gen 3, which kind of holds it back a little bit. It has the efficiency of the newer architecture, but yeah, the 3600 has PCI Express Gen 4 natively and a x16 link to the graphics card. So yeah, it kind of is faster, but for different reasons. T72, where did you get the motherboard for under £100? Caps put the link in, so yeah, you can get it from NZXT directly, or you can get it from scan.co.uk if you're in the United Kingdom. It's an NVMe M.2. Okay. Lexar Professional, let's see if I can find that. Where are we? Save parts lists. M.2, where are we? Storage. Let's see, Lexar. Lexar NM710. Yeah, that's currently available over here for $66.68. That's the Lexar NM710 1TB. NVMe PCI Express Gen 4 x4. Yeah, $66.68. I'm guessing that's probably got some onboard cache on it, but I can't tell. Normally the Pro range do have more cache on board, whereas the other ones tend to use HBM or host buffer memory. Yes. So, Blake, question, what are your cats eating? Sounds like a cat dinner plate's being rattled around on the floor. No, that's a calf poking the fire.
Sorry. But I'm not like John Wayne.
Have I missed any other questions? No, I think that is... I think I've pretty much got it. Oh, Ken Mustang. After your review of the Gigabyte ITX board from the other day, I watched your review of the TT Tower 100 from like a year ago. You got me thinking of doing a simple Boba Fett theme with that case. Yeah, the with the green case you could. Did you say green? I got the mouse over it. I know. Yeah, that would be. I've actually looked at Thermalright had a couple of special offers on over the Easter weekend, and I almost bought another Tower 100. I had the green one before, which is no longer with us because we gave that away. I think. Did we give it away?
I think it was a competition, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a competition. Yeah, we gave that away. So I was tempted to get another one in black or white, just to do a little build with it, but Yeah, it didn't get reduced enough, I'm afraid. So it went down to about £89 from 100, which it wasn't really that much. It is quite tempting though. I would quite like to do another Thermalright tower build. Name89 says the A770 is £280 at the moment on OC UK, just £40 more than the A750. Yeah, the A770 is quite an attractive proposition. Although I think if I was going to go up a next level, I'd probably go with the 16 gig one rather than the 8, which I think is a little bit more expensive again. And I don't think there's a huge performance difference between the A77 and the A750, unless you go with the 16 gig version. And that's only going to be in some titles. Freedom House 1984 says, yeah, that board anywhere by me is $240. So I'm guessing they don't have it on offer at the NZXT website in the States then. Which is a shame. Name 89 says, I thought Kath was doing some egg and bacon for a moment. No. Would be nice. Ordinary Dude says, I picked up a 1TB Gen 4 NVMe to go on a friend's build for $38 just a few days ago. That's pretty good. That is good. They haven't really come down much lower than about £40 here in the UK. So yeah, that's pretty good. Hyrax says, has anybody heard of a video card company called Inno3D? Is it legit? Yes, Inno3D is the budget brand of Zotac. It's all part of the same company. So Zotac is the premium brand, and Inno3D is their kind of more cost-effective. And generally, Inno3D traditionally used to always be for the Asian markets. They didn't really have a lot of Inno3D stuff in the UK and Europe. Around about 2001, I think, 2002 possibly, early 2000s anyway, Inno3D were starting to do some cards in the UK in retail packaging. I remember selling them in the shop. I'm trying to think which cards it would have been now. I think it was like GT510s or something. But yeah, they kind of dip in and out the channel. When I say channel, I mean like the PC channel where stuff gets brought in and distributed, etc. Not the British channel or English channel. Hyrex saying, yeah, it's available here cheaper than other brands like Gigabyte or Asus, but I found no reviews for Inno3D. Yeah, again, because they are more, or at least they were more kind of targeting the Asian market more so, then you probably find less review videos, at least in English anyway, purely because of where they were kind of concentrating their market. You do see them every now and then in the UK. Dutch Jan, my next GPU should have more than 8 gigs. Why else even update? Yeah, the whole... I kind of wanted to do a standalone video on this, on the whole gamer... Well, it's not so much... Oh, Poppy. Not so much Gamers Nexus, but more Hardware Unboxed. Now, this is going to seem like I'm throwing shade at them, which I kind of am, but I'm not at the same time, because they are in a very privileged position where they get to try and test the very latest and greatest of everything in the PC market, and most of the stuff that they buy is from the money made from the channel. So it's quite rare, I would argue, that they're digging into their own personal pockets to buy stuff. Now, I could be completely wrong. If I am, please, Hardware Unboxed, please at me and confirm or deny that. Realistically, you don't need to buy your own stuff, so I don't know why you would anyway, but I digress. They are in a position where, obviously, they're testing this super high-end stuff, and they're testing all at high ultra settings or whatever. So, graphically, it is going to be more intensive, and especially at higher resolutions like 1440p and 4K. The majority of gamers who live and breathe in the real world can't necessarily afford to be gaming at such high resolutions or graphical settings like they can in the reviews. And ultimately that's what they are for. They are reviews, so you can say, this is what I would aspire to if I won the lottery. But heading back into the real world, I'm not going to be playing at 4K 60 Hz on my monitor and expecting it to be high refresh rates, etc. It's just not going to happen. So they're saying about a lot of games struggling with VRAM. There has been one or two which have flexed a little bit and are using more VRAM, but if you lower the settings a little bit, lower your expectations, then you can quite comfortably fit within that 8 gig or 6 gig or 4 gig limit, as we've always done for years and years. It's just now, because obviously they're benchmarking, they've got their afterburner things showing how much video RAM it's using. Most of us never used to even do that. And it's only since kind of last couple of years that when you adjusted your settings sliders, that it would tell you actually how much VRAM you're going to use. Previously to that, you just adjusted the sliders, played the game, and it is what it is. You didn't know how much RAM was being used. So we were completely in the dark and didn't know what was going on. So the fact that you've actually got the counter up there saying, yes, this is how much VRAM you're using, it's all a bit of a storm in a teacup. I think realistically, if you've got your 4 gig card, your 6 gig card, your 8 gig card, you're going to be fine. But if your game is using a lot of textures, just lower them. You don't have to go and buy yourself a brand spanking new 500, 600, £1,000 graphics card just because Hardware Unboxed want you to run your games at Ultra. There, I've said it, that's my piece. We'll get that out of the way. Frank, talk to Frank.
Is it worth?
Frank Buttrell, is it worth upgrading my Z390-A to Z690? I have a 9600K i5, brilliant, but still looking. 9th gen is still pretty good and it's still got life left in it. So if you're feeling flush and you want to do an upgrade and you fancy doing a build, then yeah, get a new chip, get a new motherboard, happy days. And you could probably still get a reasonable return on your old stuff. So yeah. Is it worth it? Probably not. Is it going to be an enjoyable experience? Maybe. Can you afford it? If so, what the hell, do it. Rick H says I bought an A770 with 16 gigs. Awesome stuff. What else did I miss on? No, I think that's it. Kitty Cam Lol. Is she back on again, was she? Oh no, I just missed that.
Did her big stretch, I think.
Oh god, I didn't. Yeah, I've scrolled too far now. Michael T. Oh, this might be interesting. Let's see. Oh, actually, Name89 says it as well. The whole VRAM issue is getting nuts. Makes a second-hand gaming console so tempting. Michael T says the VRAM situation is a bit over top and misinformed. Yes, more VRAM always allows better quality graphic settings, but recent console game ports have been less optimized, resulting in more VRAM use. Yeah, I think that pretty much kind of reflects what I was saying. It's, if you don't have enough VRAM, lower your settings. It's still going to be the same on a console. If you're using a console, it's just that because consoles generally tend to be frame locked under 30 or 60 FPS, whereas PCs kind of have the luxury of unlocking those targets. If you're using a lot of frames per second, high settings, etc., yeah, it's going to use more VRAM. And on a console, you'll notice that by stuttering, or certain parts of the game will start lagging a bit. Whereas on a console, there's nothing you can do about that at all. Basically nothing, you're stuck. The game runs as it runs. But whereas with a PC, obviously you've got the flexibility of buying a better graphics card or reducing settings. So I would argue probably console gamers are in a worse position because they've got a fixed amount of video memory to work with. So if you get slowdowns and stutters, it's what it is. Michael T says medium quality graphics these days is high from a few years ago, so more RAM needed in some scenarios. And I guess as well, you could argue the case that things like FSR, VSR, DLSS, etc., XESS, because it's scaling, it's using less VRAM because it's not having such large textures. So that kind of not mitigates entirely, but it certainly does reduce the need for having that much VRAM, because you can just scale down the actual output, which again you can't really do on a console. Kieran says, I'm late, been redecorating all bloody day. Well, put your feet up. Evan says, it's the same about FPS, just lower your settings and the game will play fine. Yeah, turn on VSync. That's probably the best thing you can do, especially these days with higher refresh monitors as well. Mark Point says, I think they were trying to say that NVIDIA is trying to condition us that we need more than 12 gigabytes to play games, but we as gamers need to tell them we don't care whether this changes anything. Yeah, game creators will always try and use the most resources possible for any given game, because they want to try and push the envelope of what is visually possible. It actually takes a lot of design and extra work to get something looking really nice in a lower or smaller footprint. So by giving content creators, game makers, a larger canvas to paint with, i.e. more RAM or bigger processors, makes their job easier. But then if you look at the Steam hardware survey, really game makers should be kind of tailoring their game towards that mass market. The 1066 gig or 1660 Super, something along those lines. Michael T says, in some games allocate more textures to VRAM than is actually used, so actual RAM use is not correctly being read. Yeah, there's so many different things. Years ago, it used to be ridiculous that you had, what did you have? You had 720p, 1080p, and basically low, medium, or high, and that was it. Then they started adding things like turn off motion blur, turn off other things, shadows, etc. Now you go into the video settings and there's like a list about this long. You've got to scroll down 3 pages. It's just getting too much. Absolutely bananas. Des Ducker says, Last of Us Part 1, max setting, 4K, 12.5 gig VRAM. Wow. I do apologise, Poppy has actually perched herself on my jeans in front of the camera, which I actually put there earlier, thinking it was a good idea, but clearly it wasn't. So she keeps on popping in that shot. My apologies. What other questions have we got here? Skystalker says, the new photorealistic game demos out there look like police cam footage. Yeah, that there is a game engine or a game called Unrecorded, and I think the studio doing it is called Blame, I think. It's actually on Steam, so if you go into Steam, type in Unrecorded, you can actually watch some of the footage for this gameplay, and it is absolutely stunning. I'm pretty sure it's using the new Generation 5, what's it called? Unreal Engine 5. And it looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's basically what Counter-Strike would be like if you did it for real. It's that good. Which is a shame now, because if that comes out at the same time as CSGO 2, it's going to be, which one do you go for? Anyway, there you go. Freedom House 1984 says, need a college course for some of those game settings. Yeah, you do. Definitely. Anyone following the rumoured Asus BIOS overvolting the Ryzen chip? Not really. I've seen it mentioned. I didn't look into it in a great deal. The X3D chips haven't really impressed me a great deal. I'm not someone who spends all the time gaming, so for me there's no real point of having one. and they're a lot more expensive than their regular non-X 3D counterparts. So, yeah. Mark says Asus pulled all the BIOS files. That's interesting. Yeah, I did see a chip burnt up. I was looking at a burn blister on it. Evans04, I have 3 PC. One is only 2 years old, but the other 2 are older, but are working fine. I am really hoping they let us upgrade to Windows 11 somehow. Like I said, you can download the ISO of the Windows 11 installer. You can then use other things like Rufus, etc. to actually remove the TPM settings out of it. You can actually do it from the standard ISO as well by going into the command line when you do so. We have done a video on it. So if you type in Windows 11 without TPM, I think it is. Kath will put the link in the video, but you can do it now. Frank Buttles has got to go. Have fun. See you next time. Thank you very much. And Pop is moving again. Right. Yeah, I think that's not many more questions now. But we'll carry on till 10 o'clock, I think. Give it another 12 minutes or so, and then we'll call it a day. My nose has been getting worse today. Feels very, very blocked. George has had a cold for a couple of days. Angel's been a bit snuffly today, so maybe it's my turn again.
And I haven't had one for over a year.
Kath hasn't had a cold for over a year. I've had 4, no 3 or 4. Ordinary Dude says Ventloy bypasses TPM and Secure Boot 2. Thank you, Ordinary Dude. Pac-Man says, Mike, it's okay, you can be honest. We all know you just play Among Us at 4K 60 all the time. Hyrex says, Mike, can you do a guide on how to flash VBIOS? I have done that, sort of.
Yeah, install Windows 11 on unsupported.
Yeah, that's the one. I have done it, but yeah. Flashing your VBIOS, actually I think I've done 2 videos. I did one on how to stop lag and stutter, which involved flashing your VBIOS. I also did one on how to change the custom, or change a 20 series Founders Edition to a custom EVGA BIOS, so you can take control of the fans, etc. It's always one of those things that is quite hard to do because there's so many graphics cards. Chris Hartford says Rufus can make a Windows 11 TPM bypass installer. It can, you're absolutely right. William Bodie says I got the same problem. I think it's too many pollen in the air. Yeah, we've had a couple of days, well, I spent a couple of days in the garden catching up on stuff that we hadn't done out there, cutting up some wood for the fire, etc. And it was very, well, they said it was a high pollen count. It didn't affect me at the time. It's only now that it's actually getting a bit worse. Dave Aiken says, Mike, you were fairly late to the Intel GPU scene. I was. Given the pleasant surprise you had with a A750, do you think you'll jump onto Battlemage quicker when they launch? A Battlemage card. Sorry, it's right on the corner of the screen. I can just about see past the globe there. I don't know. I think Battlemage is going to be a little way off. So it's kind of difficult to tell. There's so many differentiating factors. It's nice now that there is an alternative, because a lot of AMD cards are fine, but they've kind of abandoned the more budget end of the market now, apart from their older cards, which apparently are still in stock and selling and even getting discounted. So it seems that AMD are having some kind of issue at the moment, with either they've got too much inventory on hand and they need to clear it before they release anything a bit lower end. I don't envisage us seeing like a 7600 or 7600X T or whatever until at least May, June. So at least another 2 months. Possibly after the next, is it Computex? No. Whatever the next computer fair thing is. There is one in May. So normally about a month or so after that, you get another graphics card if there's going to be one. So there's not going to be a mid-range AMD current gen GPU until at least then. And it might only be 7600 XT or 7700 XT, X, whatever they call it. We might not even see like a 7500, like a really low-end card. There's still a lot of 6600, rx6600 out there on the market, clearly, because they're still selling very good money. £200 is pretty good. Nvidia have abandoned the budget market and the mid-range market entirely. There basically isn't anything under... What's the cheapest Nvidia graphics card you can buy, which actually makes any sense now? Probably the RTX 3060, 12 gig, around about sort of 330, 340. So anything under 300 quid from Nvidia is basically non-existent in new. Obviously, second-hand cards you can get loads of stuff. I suppose you could argue there are still things like 6600 Ti's, Supers, but they're quite rare. But it's not much. So yeah, it's nice to see Intel having something a little bit cheaper, which is quite powerful, but still a little bit rough around the edges. Yeah, I don't know.
Captain Meets Adventures.
Captain Meets Adventures. How you doing, Captain Meets Adventures? Has he got a question? Yes. Captain Meets Adventures. Mike, Kath, can Mike start doing some game streams? I used to enjoy them. The hospital one was good. And what about theme park? Yeah, I suppose we probably could do. I was actually considering getting Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2? What's the one that just come out?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's Dead Island 2. I was going to get Dead Island 2 and start streaming that as I do a playthrough, because I really enjoyed the first one. It had quite a lot of humour in it. It was quite enjoyable, and it's a little bit... Well, it's basically a zombie game. So it's kind of fun in a ridiculously over-the-top way. So I might get that and actually do some streaming on that. If there'll be some viewers for it, I don't know. Maybe there would, maybe there wouldn't. But we'll see. Skystalker says, if I ever give Nvidia another $1, it will be too soon. Yeah, it's... Nvidia... Sorry. Intel really need to get AV1 encoding baked into Adobe Premiere. As soon as they do that, the entire landscape will change, because AV1 encoding, much more efficient, Intel hardware supports for it, runs very well, and basically if you want to use Adobe Premiere at the moment, which millions and millions and millions of people do across the world, you have to use an NVIDIA card, otherwise it sucks. You either have to use an NVIDIA card or a much higher up the stack card from AMD. And then it still doesn't make a great deal of difference. So yeah, to get AV1 encoding support baked into Adobe Premiere will be basically a game changer for the entire market. Because everyone will be like, right, Intel card, get it in there, gotta go. It'll happen. Des Ducker says, tried Cyberpunk without DLSS 3 on path tracing on the 4090, got 19 frames per second, with on got 120. Wow, that is quite a difference. Where do we get to? Michael T says Dead Island 2 is out. Yes. I think it came out on the 21st, which was yesterday. I did have a look to see if I could find anywhere that was selling it cheap. Apparently, you could get it with a VPN if you logged in to Epic Games Turkey and set up a Turkey account, and you can get it for like 17 quid. But if you do it from a UK account, it's like best part of 60. It's quite a lot of money. Skystalker says, I will watch Mike game. Thank you.
A bit up. Mini Hilly.
Mini Hilly. Will Nvidia return to low mid-range market for 50 series cards? Sales of the 4070 has been poor apparently. It has been poor, but from what I've heard or what I've seen other people mentioning, is that Nvidia basically don't care. And they don't want to reduce the price of the 4070. So I think they're quite happy for it to be a poor seller. And it seems that it doesn't overclock at all, really. Because there's a very hard limit on power. So yeah, there's basically the card itself, with a lot of other cards on the market, especially some of the AMD ones, you can crank them up and you can actually almost get them to the next tier. But for the 4070, it looks like it has been quite heavily kind of clamped, and you either hit a hard wall in terms of your power limit, or yeah, whatever it was. Jay's 2 Cents did a really good video on it the other night. I watched it before I fallen asleep, so I don't remember all of it, but basically yeah, it's kind of hard locked. There's not really a lot you can do. So it's gone from being disappointing to be doubly disappointing because you can't really tune it. Really Random View says, yes, it's been a high pollen count on my Windows tab. I think it's just this room. And we've got the fire lit as well.
And because it's such rubbish
And
weather,
I think it's just the dust from the fire.
And the cats are in all
Yeah.
the time, aren't they? Because the weather's
So we've got
rubbish.
pollen. I actually today, you probably haven't noticed this. Actually, I don't think you can see it. But I've actually put the third middle support in on the shelves because they're sagging. So it actually came super close. I don't think you can quite see it, but just in this corner here, the top of the case
Oh, just about.
almost hits the middle pillar, which I never got around to doing. I think I ordered the replacement pillars during lockdown. So it's been what?
I think we ordered the shelves. I don't think we had them there before.
No,
We got
but
them in.
no, but I ordered the stand.
The
I
stands
ordered
at the same
the
time.
extra slats because we didn't have the ones over your desk, did we?
Or,
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a set of 3 shelves above my desk. There's a set of 4 shelves, I think, over Calf's. Yeah, that's why you got 4. I was thinking earlier, because I'm sure I bought an extra support for each one. I'm thinking, what? I'm missing some planks, surely, aren't I? Or some arms. But that's where they are. Yeah, anyway, I digress. So I did that today, so there might be a little bit of extra brick dust in the room. Even though I was very careful and put a little plastic tray underneath it to try and catch it all, I think it's still, it might still be in my nose a little bit. It feels dry. Really Random Review says, Dead Island, wow wow wee wah. I spent many hours playing that game. I did. The original Dead Island was, I think that came out when I was still relatively in my stoner phase. And yeah, I'm sure I smoked way too much weed and played that game for way too many hours. Especially like, I would have been working at the BBC, I think then. Yeah, I would have been. And yeah, Christmas holidays, absolutely stoned out of my brain, playing Dead Island until the early hours of the morning at the Christmas break. Happy times. Just completely, oh, chocolate, oh, gamepad, oh, yeah, good times. Captain Meets Adventure says, Mike, you go live and we will come. It was really enjoyable watching you play with yourself. Oh dear. I actually was considering doing a daily live stream of Wreckfest, doing the daily challenges, but I don't know whether that would just become way too monotonous. And the theory is I would do each day and keep on playing until I got a gold in each challenge, which could become either
a week-long stream.
yeah, it could become like one day might roll into the next, but I don't know. I might do that. We'll see. Ordinary Dude says, you need to start learning a DaVinci Resolve. It works better with more hardware and will save you a ton of money. I do. I actually genuinely do. I said this before. I need someone to sit down with me and go through my workflow so that I can kind of transfer easier. Otherwise, it's just going to be such a steep learning curve and I'm going to get frustrated. I still might do it anyway. I have been tempted. My Adobe Premiere license subscription, I think, runs out in August, I think. So, as always, time is running out, so I should really consider it. Actually, is it running out? Did I do a yearly one or did I do a monthly?
I think you pay monthly.
Yes, £20 monthly, which isn't a huge amount. It is if you think of it over a year or multiple years, but £20 a month as a business expense isn't terrible. Yeah.
It's like phoning. I'd rather own my phone than pay for it monthly.
Sure. Chris Hartford's asking, how is the AM5 system doing? Any new problems? No, funny enough, I did say that at the very, very beginning of the stream. Touch wood, it's been brilliant. It's actually much, much better now. It's behaving itself. I've got all the MSI software installed. I've got the Thermalright software for the fans. It's doing Windows updates. Everything is working as it should do. And it's actually pretty nippy as well. Runs nice. It keeps pretty cool at the moment. I think it's at a steady... Where are we? Wait for the CPU. RAM, come on. RAM, I want CPU frequency, no, CPU RAM temperature is 42 degrees. I guess CPU is going to be colder than the RAM. CPU temperature 39 degrees Celsius. We've been streaming for like 2 hours. The GPU itself is at 60 degrees, just under. And the room is 23 degrees Celsius, give or take. So, it's not too bad. The GPU is actually at 60 Celsius because we're streaming, but the fans haven't kicked in yet because the RTX 3060, the fans don't kick in until it hits 60. So, there's a lot of heat actually just on the graphics card, but it's relatively cool air which is being pumped out, which is nice. Yeah, so AM5 system now appears to be 100% stable and working as intended, which is good. That's where we want to be with it, considering all the money I put into it. ClickTech Kev's in the house. How you doing? It says, lockdown, those were the days. Yes, I kind of miss lockdown days, but I don't want to say it out loud because if I do, you know that those asshats in government will chuck another one on us at some point for something or other. There'll be, I don't know, typhoid rising or something, and it'll have to be...
Potholes.
Yeah.
Stay
home. There's potholes in the road. Yeah, that was good times. In some ways.
Tim Carrington asked, what case do you have?
Where's that?
At bottom.
Oh god, I've scrolled again, haven't I? Tim Carrington, hi, what is the case you have? The one behind me is the Thermalright Series 500. Aletta says, we didn't have a lockdown in Ohio, the governor knows we all have guns. Good point. Yeah, Dave's saying that, yeah, to be fair, the potholes are more like craters. In our road, it's the same potholes over and over again. They come out, they fill them in with the same crap tarmac.
Sand, I think.
And sand or bloody
Dust.
Pixie dust. And literally, as soon as it gets any moisture and it gets cold, the moisture goes straight underneath the tarmac because it isn't waterproof enough. And then when it freezes, the water expands and it goes boop, and pops out.
Do it now and it'd still be broken up by summer.
Yeah, it's bollocks.
But they've obviously got people that...
Apparently they've spent a lot of money and we are supposed to be having our road resurfaced. And it does need it. There's some serious holes in our road. I might have to chuck a couple of claims in for tyres and shock absorbers. They love that.
It takes 10 weeks to get any correspondence returned to you from them. So I doubt if you'd get anything.
Michael T says, just downloaded DaVinci Resolve to learn how to use it myself. I did try very briefly. I think what I might have to do is, I've got a system out in the hall which I should be selling, but I might just use it and install DaVinci Resolve on there and stick it in the other room. I can isolate myself from the rest of the world and really concentrate on how to use DaVinci Resolve. And also, I've got enough room on the desk to have 2 monitors, so I can have one with a YouTube tutorial playing and the other one with my screen, so I can actually do 2 things at once. I think that would be actually quite beneficial. We'll see. Welly Bob says, anything I actually need, large capacity NVMe drives that are well priced and ones that last, because they don't have a particularly long life. Letter says my PC loop temp is still 25C. Awesome stuff. William Bodie says, question, what is wrong in the UK? Potholes on every bike review I see. Well, the problem in the UK is the government has subcontracted all of the repairs to the highways to basically... Yeah, I shouldn't say that, but there's a word that I'm looking for that you probably know what I'm thinking, but the sort of people that come round to your house and offer to put a driveway in very cheaply, and they do it very cheaply for a reason. And basically those are the people that are in charge of restoring our highways. Or it's some trainees on the very, very basic minimum wage with no accountability whatsoever. Now, for most of us...
Well, the ones on the highway starring and watch, poor bugger.
For people that are watching this, you and I, if you have to produce something to sell to someone as a service, you have to do it to a certain quality or level of satisfaction, or you go out of business. That is a fact. Whereas the government doesn't have to actually reach any particular standards or levels of quality, much like the BBC in the UK, because it's basically funded. They can put out whatever dross they want and it doesn't matter because they're paid for. And the government's the same. So they employ these dipshit companies who put all this crap in to say, oh yeah, we'll do this, this and this. These are the 16 steps we'll take to make sure that the roads last forever. And we'll put unicorn dust in there and paint rainbows up them or whatever. Nonsense, basically. Because as soon as they get the contract to do it, they're like, right, chuck all that shit out. Basically, right, go down to B&Q, grab some of that instant tarmac and a hammer.
Compost.
Yeah, and they just chuck it in there, flatten it down, spend about 3 minutes doing it. They don't really dig out the old crap or actually put a proper bedding into it to make it stick in. In places like Germany and stuff, they use a resin. So they fill it with a resin, which will last longer than the surrounding road, which is what they should do here. But they're dipshits and they're basically all pocketing money. It's just a massive scam. We pay our taxes so that the government can basically piss our money away. I don't want to get too involved in that really, but that's where we're at with it. Ah, dear.
It'd be a lot cheaper if we could just organise our own workmen.
Yeah.
And chip in and pay for the road. 16 grand a month they get for council tax in this road.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of money. Mookie says, is DaVinci Resolve a Premiere Pro or an After Effects replacement or a bit of both? I think it's pretty much a bit of both. It's more really for colorists. So for color grading, that is what it kind of, its thing was. So DaVinci is really good for that. Their color grading software apparently is like the bomb. But as you can probably tell, I've never done any color grading at all. Pac-Man says, reply, that fixed the potholes the way they do, so they keep getting the money. It's perpetual motion. It is. It is. The government in the UK is just such a corrupt thing. It's ridiculous. And because we don't really have any choice. And most people won't stand up to it, and they're just like, because they don't push us quite hard enough, we don't fight back. It's like the boiling frog. You just turn up the heat very, very, very slowly, and the frog doesn't notice until it's too late. And we are in that same thing. Anyway, let's get away from that subject. Actually, we went over time there, so I think we'll wrap it up there before I say something I actually do regret. thank you all so much for joining us on this Saturday evening. Hopefully it's been moderately entertaining. Hopefully you found a bargain in the motherboard which was there. So hopefully some of you have. That would be awesome. Thank you all for your super chats and contributions. And if you haven't already, smash the like button. It does help. And also share the content if you can. If you can tolerate that sort of thing. Or if your friends... It might be like your secret thing. You know, like some people listen to Barbie Girl, but they do it on headphones so no one else knows. Maybe this is your guilty pleasure and you watch Mike's unboxing, but you don't tell anyone you watch. Just in case. You never know. Anyway, we might be doing some live streams then on games, possibly. Something I need to work out. I do need to work out how to do that. And we'll try and have a little bit of fun as an extra little thing on the side of Mike's unboxing. It'll be good fun. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for contributions, etc. Don't forget there's Discord and Patreon, all that kind of stuff if you want to get content early, and the YouTube members, obviously. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's unboxing reviews and how to, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching. I have to find the button again. Or I need to get a big button in the middle of the desk and go boom. Night all.